Hello, Miss Perez. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Under the weather, but I'm doing good.
Oh, we're all under the weather over here too. We have mocos and we've been dealing with fevers and whatnot. I don't know if you could see there, it says that I'm inviting you to a Zoom. I met with the platform managers for It's Learning and actually the directors of Teacher Builder because we're having some issues with the It's Learning platform. This conferencing tool, while awesome, in theory, is not going to record the things, so people who are unable to attend won't be able to see it, or if you wanted to like rewatch some of the stuff. So what they suggested is that I try to get everybody to go over to Zoom. I don't know how difficult that would be at this moment, but
No, that's fine. Let me log into Zoom.
you just have to click on that Zoom, just this link that's there. It says, let me look for just the link by itself without all of that extra stuff. I really wish this tool, sorry, was a bit better. Are you off from school already?
Yes.
That's awesome. When did you get off?
I got off Monday. It was my last day.
Excellent. That's awesome. Here we have schools that go until, I'm looking for the Zoom platform so it lets me send you the thing, but I think, were you able to, let me see if I can email it or send it through that other thing. I hate all of this. I mean,
I had to copy it, put the member ID.
What member ID? Is it asking for member ID?
The meeting ID.
Meeting ID. It's not there connected to it where you just click on it. No. Oh, there it is. The meeting ID is 712. It's right. Hold on. Let me see if you can. I don't know if you can see it.
I think it's already working because this is launching.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's that 712 number, 712894. But I'm gonna leave this one open. You can log out of it, but that way I can just kind of refer to people on this end. It's gonna be kind of hectic in the beginning. All right, where is? Was it able to share screen? Were you able to log in? Let's see. Let me see. There we go. Is it letting you in? I think it is.
I can see you.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. So I'll just keep this other one open. You see it's already erased what we discussed, and the other one, which is not going to work because people come and go. Also, it limits to 10 participants, so that might have been a problem. Okay. How are you with your studying? I don't see.
I'm doing well. What I did was I made flashcards of the essay,
Okay.
of the first one. I started reading like different poems, analyzing them, breaking it down. I think I really got used to like having it on paper, and now I'm scared that's going to be a difficult problem when I'm taking the test.
Right. And that may be the case. You're taking it in June.
I'm taking it on Wednesday.
Oh, this
So
one.
it's already, yes, it's Wednesday.
Right. Well, in order for you to prepare for that, you should just the writing portion go through, especially with that second one, and we'll discuss it right now. Did you receive this strategies for the TEKS constructed text, the Texas constructed? Not the
Yes, I did.
Okay, so this is actually a really amazing document as far as the information that it gives in order for you to be successful taking both the literary and the analysis. And so one of the tips that they suggest, which has worked really well, is to plan your where's this? I'm trying to look for the exact place of it. Okay, so what are some of the things that you did the first time that you took it? While I look for that, what I would like to read to you.
Okay, the first time I took it, I went with the simplest literary devices, you know, like imagery, alliteration. I didn't go into depth. I just put like in quotation, I put, well, this is what imagery is. Basically, this is the example. I didn't go much into depth. But then when I took it the second time I took it more seriously and I worked on it. And this third time, I thought I had gone over and beyond since I was working with my students with literary devices. So I thought I was more prepared for that, but I guess I wasn't. But now, since I started, I printed a lot of the examples of the test, like the poems.
Uh-huh.
So I started doing that on my own, and I started realizing, okay, there's more than just alliteration, just more image. There's more connotation, denotation.
Right, and so author's tone or motivation or purpose, and like, I don't know, I believe we spoke before, but in this particular writing task that you have, the state is looking to see that you are at the highest level of both analysis with your literary analysis, your ability to take literature and to dig deep. And so alliteration and those type of devices, while they're still devices and people use them, are not going to give you those super deep analysis, thematic analysis. So what you're gonna, I don't want for you to just choose like some hard something or try to look for something that's difficult. The key for the analysis is to first identify what the theme is, what the linking theme is, and then what sort of clues helped you come to that conclusion, and to illustrate it in a way that shows your mastery of the language. Because they want to see two things for this task. They want to see that you are an expert level analysis, like someone who can analyze, and expert level writer, so that you can model that level of writing to the highest level, which we discussed would be like senior AP level English. So that's where the wealth of amazing already chosen for you poems and excerpts from literary merit to kind of give you that practice.
I looked at AP College Board essays.
Yes, but I mean, it's not all of them. They all don't work that way. They all don't work well for this exam. It's only really the first question. The other ones ask you more broadly, like a theme question, and then ask you to pull from literature from your brain. But that first one asks you to analyze what's there in front of you, and then to come out with some sort of concise, coherent thesis or argument. One of the tools that I used for my students always in the AP classes when doing poetry, I don't know if you use it yourself, but the TPcast.
Yes, one of my teachers gave me that, and I didn't know if that was okay, if I could use that. That's what she gave me.
Well, you won't be able to take it with you in the test, but when you're looking, this is the sort of thing that an AP student is going to become very familiar with. And I still do it. I learned this when I was in AP literature. I still do it when I see my stuff. I'm like, TPcast, I'm like the title. That's how I break down my analysis quickly. Boom, 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 boom. to try to get to the meat of this. I would keep this in mind. Don't try to memorize it. Think
Okay.
there's always meat
No.
or fruit in the title. If they put a title there and it's not just the first line, then there's might be something there to it. But for sure, the diction, the details, and the attitude, the tone of the piece are going to be the ones that are going to give you that deeper analysis than just say the plot or the paraphrasing. That's not, I wouldn't even think about those things when I'm doing the exam. I would look at devices, diction, attitude, and details within the poem. Now, how did you feel about the one that was placed in It's Learning? I am kind of really a little bit shocked that no one else has come to the meeting.
One of my friends, she's actually she's in Teacher Builder, and no one put her like with the same system that I am. She's never met with you, and she's taking it next week too.
Well, tell her, send her the thing right now. She can just jump in with us. I can. That's
Really?
crazy.
But
Yes.
let me
Yeah,
see.
just text it to her, or if you could email it to her, or I can send you a. Let me see if it'll let me.
Let me call her really quick. Let's see if I can get her on.
Okay. So yes, and she's taking the English exam. What is her name? I'm sorry.
Abigail Chacon.
I have an Abigail, but not that last name. How do you spell that last name?
That's what I thought.
Chacon.
Hacon. That is, and you know, Miss Cardenas is amazing about keeping all of that straight. So I don't know how that slipped through, but hopefully we can. She hasn't seen any of the stuff. She hasn't seen like the.
No, and she's been really close. She's got into 39 twice.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, and also can you just give her my phone number, because I can also do like a session maybe this weekend if you guys want.
Yeah, let me text it. I don't know. What is your number?
210-774-0996. Look, here's an invite. Let me see. I'm going to invite.
It's 210-774-0996.
0996. Let me see. Do you have It's Learning open right now?
Do I have what?
One moment.
I closed It's Learning. Let me see if I can go back on. But yes, she's been really close because I'm the one that's usually telling her like, hey, do this for Teacher Builder. Teacher Builder emailed me this, and she has never gotten anything. And I had sent her like all the emails you sent me about what to study. So I sent her all that.
Well, thank you for doing that. What an excellent friend you are. I'm going to copy the URL for you right now. That way I can just kind of paste it in there. Someone else came to the room. Okay, I got it to just put the thing so I can send it to you. I'm going to send it to everyone. Oh, I swear this thing. Here it is. So how did the end of the year finish for you? Still there, Stacy?
Yes.
Okay, I just sent you. You can highlight it and copy it to your friend if you want. The Zoom, just that little URL for right now for the. Please join. Leave a message here. Please join. So yes, and we'll take a look at it. I have something here. It's really great, and I got it at Barnes and Noble some time ago. I was looking for some to see if I could just scan them and upload them for you guys. But I found my original, so. And it has some of them, I mean, because there's some literary terms that are kind of ridiculous and obscure and they don't get used very often. So you're not going to have to learn or I'm sorry, this is just not working and I don't understand what. I'm just going to stop this and then do it. It's not letting me. Okay, so back to what we were discussing. And then so for the next portion, and I think you told me what you wrote once for that portion of the exam, the second writing portion, and I think we spoke.
Yes.
We spoke a little bit.
I found something on a writing binder that I had, and it said something about plan. And it says like P, pay attention, L, list main ideas, A, add supporting details. It was like a suggestion for the AP exam. I mean, not an AP exam, for some writing exam.
Yeah.
And then it says number the order which you will present your ideas on paper. So it's like a lead forward, an activity for the students. So I was thinking to do that part instead of, because it says task 2, right? You list the task, and then on task 3, it tells you like how would you help the student if you were the teacher? Right. How would you suggest to persuade? So I started looking into it, and it's a lot of persuading. So you have to persuade the reader to actually go with you for what's against. Like this one of the cases was about cell phones. Okay. Having cell phones in the classroom, what can you use? Well, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because students get distracted. They're on their phones, or on YouTube, or on social media. They're not actually working, but you're still involving technology and you're suggesting ideas for them. I don't know. It was just a bunch of little notes that I wrote all over the place. But
yeah. So what? With that second writing task, they give you a sample of a student's writing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you identify strengths, you identify weaknesses, and then you're supposed to give a plan of action to identify or bridge the gap between the weakness, right?
Mm-hmm. How would you correct it or modify it, basically?
Right, modify the weakness. Now, what kind of a weakness did you identify last time when you were reading? Do you remember the last times the weakness that you identified?
I think it was a choice of diction. I think because they use the word stuff. And I'm really particular, like even when I write the word stuff, I don't like when my students write it, or even things, like they need to go into detail, list the items. What do you mean by things? Question them. Mm-hmm. I was thinking of doing like a chart and having the list of the words, suggesting, okay, what can we use for the word things? And
a really great exercise for diction that I love to use with my students, and anytime I do this to them, I like to kind of do it early because it helps me just as a teacher, like in the beginning of the year, for them to see how it works. But so diction is your specific word choice, and there's this great exercise that's called found poetry, right? So you go and you didn't come up with the words, or they were there and you just put them in an order or whatever. So on any given paper, like let's say I'm reading a novel, and on this paper I could assign, okay, everybody go to page of whatever novel we're reading, 183, and you're going to come up with a found poem using the words there. So they only take the words that are here. I also do this with their first essay in my class. So I do it with a really good piece of literature, and they're able to come up with beautiful poetry because obviously that writer used excellent words and gave them all the colors with which to paint a beautiful picture. When I give them the task again with their own work, they're like, "Miss, I can't do it. I didn't use any good words. I should have said it this way, and then I could have used this word." So that does many different things. It teaches them poetry, it teaches them diction, but it also gets them to think about what particular choices am I making as a writer, and are any of my words worthy of analysis? Because that's the point. We only look at diction because you said it for a reason. So if you're just saying stuff, it's not really diction, you're just saying stuff. So that's an exercise that I like to do. But I feel like with the state, no matter how great you give them a lesson or ideas to rectify the situation, what they super want to hear is for you to use the language, their language that they use to talk about the different standards and objectives and goals within the classroom, and to kind of like parrot it back to them. Just the way that we tell the kids to use certain words or question stems in order to get, it's kind of in that way. Let me take a look if we have one so that we can talk about it a little bit more clearly. An example. Do you know if I sent you an example of that second one if it was given in the Memetrix?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but
I got this one from the 7 through 12 online.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to pull up right now, because actually that's the better one, because it comes from the test makers and they give you the rubrics. Another example I always do with the kids in order to get them to be successful with any exam is to let's super look at the rubrics and what is that they're going to be looking for. Sorry, let me just open this up. I really cannot.
So are both essays like higher? So like if I don't do that well in the questions, like is the essay going to boost up my grade?
Well, the essay counts for 35% of your grade. The essays, that writing task is 35%. So you couldn't bomb it completely, but there are these study strategies or guessing strategies. Did you see those? The ones that are in the Memetrix book? I will see where they are specifically. The monkeys take a test one, and the $5 challenge.
Yeah. Good. Okay, let me pull that up. That one I didn't print because I ran out of paper.
No worries at all. Are you kidding me? When I was doing this, I ran out of papers, and it's just been crazy. My 2 toddlers, I don't know if you know this, but I have 5 kids, but so, and I also have interns. Like my interns are the San Antonio area, like Del Rio, Austin, Manor, like all this central area. So if I lived in the Valley, I probably would go see you on your campuses all year long. So I had those end of year meetings, and it has just been insanity, like so insane. These 2, the secret key number 2, guessing is not guesswork, and the $5 challenge, I feel that those are really great strategies to use on the multiple choice questions, because listen to me when I say this, you will not know all the answers. You just won't. I didn't, and I have a master's degree. You're not going to know all the answers because our content area is so wide and ever branching out. So we have like everything in history, the different genres, then we have all of this new stuff that's being included, which we do have. So it's just like such a large scope that it would be difficult for you to be prepared for every question. You're going to come across some where you're like, I have no idea the genre or even the writer that they're referring to, and they might refer to them in this really deep way, and you're like, I've never heard of this person. So you're going to have to guess on some of them, but you want to guess smarter. And this guessing is not guesswork. I'm not going to read it to you, but if you could read over these, and then if you have any questions, send me a text message or something else. I feel terrible for your friend. I feel like we could do this again for an hour if you guys want to go through some stuff together and discuss it again. So, but moving on from that, I wouldn't rely solely on the writing. I feel like you can do a really great job with the adjustments that you're going to be making. And then with the strategies for the ones that you have no idea, like don't spend time racking your brain for a question where you don't know the answer to, if you're not 100% sure you know the answer to. And so let me see if I could just really it breaks down the reason why you shouldn't do process of elimination, why that's not like the best way of doing things. I don't know if that's a way that you do. And then one of the biggest things is for you to go in there not stressed. That has so much to do with it. And to visualize, I know this is going to seem corny, but visualize yourself being successful. If I were you, would practice writing my second response, just using the the format that you would, so that you know what you're going to write on that day. Just like with, you said you got an example.
Yes.
Let me pull it up. I'm sorry, se me fue la onda otra vez. Let me pull it up. The taxes. I know it's on my computer somewhere, but okay. And just start thinking about what your answer is going to be on that day, the way that you're going to form your answer. Like visualizing, okay, so I'm going to identify the strengths. I'm going to talk about those strengths and how we'll continue to work on that. The weakness, and then for you to follow up with your, and that third portion, that third prong of the task, that's what you can practice on without having the exam, just like what you're going to say, what adjustments you would make, or what for different things. You could say for diction, let's say the weakness is diction. What would you do for diction? Let's say that the weakness is sentence structure. What would you do for sentence structure? Let's say the weakness is this. That way you're already prepared on that day, and after you identify, you're like, boom, I already wrote that one. Like, this is what I'm going to do if it's sentence structure or if it's diction. Just so that you have one less thing that you have to think of from scratch, and you have that much time and energy left for the other things. Because this exam, and I tell all of the students studying for it, is one of the most challenging exams because of the skill level that you are required to have, and the depth and the breadth of the content area. Okay, so let me see. I'm here already. Let me find the page that has a sample. Let me see. This is a very large document. Okay, here we are. You still there?
It is.
Okay, good. No, it's just that my internet is being, I live like in a dead zone. My internet is sketchy, and it keeps on telling me like my signal is weak. Okay, let me see. I'm sorry, let me check on that other classroom again. Still nobody's there. Maybe it like kicked me out or something from the conference, you think? That would be terrible.
Well, it said there was 3 participants right now in this one.
In
In
ours?
the Zoom. Yeah, and then right now it just went to 2, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I think I left a message there for everybody to join Zoom. Okay, so, excuse me.
I opened that one again.
Okay.
Great.
All components of the question. And so that's one of the biggest things. So you know you're going to have those 3 parts. Make sure they're super, like, they can tell what parts there are. There's no sort of confusion as to did she address all three parts. 1 second. It is, right? It's 3. It's sort of 3. It's the weakness, the strength, weakness, and
it's the strength. And what would you do if you were the teacher?
right.
Basically. What to help the student out?
And so, like for the diction one, you could do so many things, but if they want you to do a lesson that's targeted for that specific thing. So I wouldn't spend a whole bunch of time saying all these different things that you could do, but just to take one to address that one, and then say that you'll revisit it and reassess it and see if you need to do any other activities after you've reassessed it, after you've done the change. Excuse me. Okay, here it is. So for the second part, you think about school policy that you would like changed. Oh, okay, so this is what you gave. So one of the things, just really quickly looking at their the type of language that they use is that informal language. And so maybe a lesson with one of those, when you see that they're using informal language in their writing, that maybe you could do a lesson which talks about the different types of writing for different, you know, the boardroom, the bedroom, the whatever room it is, and the different types of ways that we talk in different areas. And so what was your suggestion for this one? For this one that they gave?
Well, the plan, that's what I was talking about. Well, to write a persuasive essay, students must plan, PLAN, and then, which is pay attention to the topic, list your main ideas, add supporting details, and number the order in which the student will write its essay.
See,
So basically,
that's
when you're
awesome,
doing it,
but what weakness are you addressing though? Are you addressing the weakness of like organization for the body, or for
the tone, it's the tone, ability to persuade the reader.
right?
So
And
concentrating on it.
Right. So, but you would need to explain that. So, with that, you can't just say the plan. They want for you to convince it. Like, don't leave any questions for them. So that's I agree that is a great thing for you to use, and to have that already in mind, that plan of action or that plan. But say what it's doing, like super spell it out for them as though they were dumb. And I'm re-looking at it again, and it does say just one. And I know that there's a tendency to add a whole bunch of them and go off on a tangent. They want you one specific strength, one specific weakness, and that one activity or change that you're going to make that addresses that one specific weakness that you gave. And what you have there is perfect, but don't forget to do the explain. So what you gave me, and we always tell the teachers, like, so you gave the answer and the proof, but you got to explain it. Why does what you gave address what it addresses? Make sure you say that, because you have to spell it out for them so that there's no room for question. If they don't know what the task is particularly doing for you and they're unfamiliar, they might ding you a bit on it. But I'm honestly, Stacy, I think you're going to do very well, and I think that you have put in the time and the effort to make it happen. Did you do the one online, the one with the tiger?
No, I never put it there. I did it, but I never like pasted onto that module.
But did you take a look at some that were there? I think there's only one right now, because
yeah, I think there's only one, but I did look into it.
But it's just not on that same topic, and I don't know, it's lost somewhere in one of the other modules, like in the same course, but in one of the other discussion areas. I don't know, one of the students placed it there. So
I concentrated more on the one that's online, because the second time when I was about to take the exam, when I got a 236, that essay that I had studied was on the exam.
Really?
I don't know how it happened, but it was. So like I remember studying the exact stanzas and everything, and it was there. So I felt like I was really lucky to sneak that in there.
Absolutely, man. That's really cool. Yeah.
So I'm hoping this time I'll be that lucky to aim at that.
Right. But then also with these strategies that I want for you to look over, the $5 challenge business, it just seems silly to do on the day of the test, but especially when you have not that many points to play with, every little point counts. So if you could get some points on ones that you don't know the answer to just by doing these little silly tricks that they give you, then I definitely think, hi, thank you.
Hi.
We were just discussing the essays and guessing on some of the multiple choice questions, because we were discussing that you there's no way for you to know all of the answers to the multiple choice. You will come across some where you're like, no idea, zero. Don't even waste your energy. One of the documents that I sent has these test taking strategies. The monkey one, monkeys take the test, and the $5 challenge are the ones that I like for the students to go through when you don't know the answer at all. When you know you're going to have to use process of elimination, but that only works if you know the answer, or if you know you're for sure this is not the right answers. So those two are the best sort of test taking guessing strategies that I have seen. So look over those for the multiple choice section and then discussing writing, and specifically that second tab, the one where it has you look at the student writing, the student task, and you have to identify the strength, the weakness, and what you would change in order to address that weakness, or what lesson you would do. And I was telling Miss Bettis, who's going to be taking it in June as well, that I suggest coming up with different go-to responses on what you would do to help certain things. Like you can, for instance, the one we were looking at right now, Miss Bettis, would you like to share what you said you thought about the plan business?
Oh, what it stands for? Oh, sorry. Did it go off?
Oh, no, you're there. No, for
Okay.
that second writing task, you had said that in order to help with the details, that you were going to do that plan exercise. But can you explain it to her so she could see what I mean by giving a complete lesson? Not complete lesson,
Okay.
but a lesson idea.
So the task number 3, it's for the teacher. What would the teacher do for the student to help them? And I suggested tone contribute to the ability to persuade students to complete an exercise that require them to write to different audiences of the same topic. So mine is the acronym PLAN. For students to write a persuasive essay, students must plan, P, as in pay attention to the topic, L, list main ideas, A, add supporting details, and N, number the order in which the student will write its essay. The reason why we address this essay, this format, it's so they can learn how to persuade with their tone of voice, have the ability to actually persuade their topic to actually get the attention that they need, that it will be resolved.
And to make sure that they have those structural things like facts and whatnot in order to be able to, I'm assuming that those things are part of that. So that second writing task has 3 different tasks that you have to do, and they don't want you to do more or less. So it's one strength in the writing, one weakness that you saw, and then one concrete change example that you could make to a lesson in order to address that. And so what she was saying is that in the essay that she looked at, in order to make them, to change the tone or to enhance student tone, to strengthen student tone with persuasive writing, she was going to teach them the plan module, or utilize that the next time so that it addresses that. But what I was explaining right before you came on is that while that's good, you have to explain to them. It's kind of like answer, prove, explain. That the answer the question, prove with whatever, but then also explain how that is going to address it, like what specifically it's going to do. So say, for instance, Stacy, you might say like, well, the P portion does this, the L portion helps them address this, blah, 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 period, right? But all within on that same topic, because you don't want to go off topic. And you can practice this by, we know what kind of strengths and weaknesses students can have. So we discussed a weakness of maybe diction, where they don't have a great vocabulary. And you could think of what would you do in order to make a student have better diction? And we discussed a particular lesson that I like to use of found poetry that helps them see that word choice matters. So that's what I would choose if I was going to try to fix diction. If you're going to try to fix something like sentence structure, maybe like simple sentence structure, very basic, and think of what you would do, a lesson that you would do in order to do that. That way you have a couple of kind of go-to answers ready for the exam on the day of the exam. There's not so many things that are going to be weaknesses that you'll be able. There's only so many things that there will be that you could identify as a weakness as a writer. So try to think of those things ahead of time and what your answer might be, or what sort of lesson you would use. The the lesson that I gave as an example for diction, for word choice, I like it because it shows the students that whenever you're choosing your words, it matters. And it becomes apparent to them because when I give them an assignment to make a poem only using words from their own essay, they realize that they don't use a lot of good words, that they don't have any. So I have them do a found poem from like a literature book that we're reading, and they can use any page. I open to whatever page, or just use it, or go open to the same page, and if they're using a writer's words, that they come up with beautiful poems. They're so happy. But when they start to use the limitations of their own words, they see that they have not been choosing words that are colorful, words that are worthy of even being analyzed and being classified as diction. So that's what I would do, and I would explain in detail how I think that would help address that one thing of diction. So if I wanted to do it incorrectly, answer it incorrectly, I could give that suggestion, but also say, and I could do a word wall, and I can also do this, and I can also do that. But that's not what they want. They want for you to just do one. Just identify one weakness and then give one lesson that addresses that one weakness. So they also like for you to use back their own language. So let's say it was a vocabulary thing. You might do a lesson and just say that you also are going to include pictures because it helps like with the ELL grouping as well to make sure that their vocabularies. So there's different things just to let them know that you understand what is required of the student and what changes need to be made. So what I mean by using the language is the TEKS have the skills that the students are supposed to have. Like Stacy, persuasive writing, that's literally, it's written and it says what they should be able to do. So you're not going to be able to do this because I can't even do this, and I'm supposed to be the specialist. But remember all the TEKS from the top of your head to be able to say this is the one they messed up on that they're weak on. You're not going to be able to do that. But if you can just kind of talk in the same, use their language from the TEKS, your essay is going to be stronger. So like you want to use words like diction or composition organization, or maybe they were supposed to write an informational text and there's no information. So, but then you have to be able to know what the state requires the student to be able to do, what their skill is supposed to be. And that's where just kind of reviewing those TEKS comes in handy. And the TEKS studies online, that's what they're supposed to be for you to look through and then see one, like, I super don't understand this one. Because there's some in the English one, and you're like, what is this? Let me Google this. I think it's really important to do that as an English teacher and someone who annotates everything, to annotate the TEKS, just so any parts that you are not familiar with or maybe you didn't look at, just kind of look over it before the exam date so you have the language in your head already. I was telling you.
this one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
So it's the one that says the standards, that's the one you want us to look at before the exam so we can understand the language? Those TEKS?
Yes, let me see. It's the student TEKS. Let me try to bring them up because that's what you're identifying their weakness in the
Is my camera on?
I don't think it is. You're incognito. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me see. So.
Oh, there it is. This one.
Let me see. Where? Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So if you go to the writing portion, and it should say something about maybe persuasion or the different types that they should be able to do by the time they leave your classroom, or the different classrooms, the different levels. And so familiarizing yourself with that language so that you could parrot it back to them. So when you identify the weakness, you just use their own language and you sound more fancy. They like stuff like that. That the raters want to know, oh, she knows the teaks. Wow, she knows I mean, if you know the teaks, then obviously you know what you're talking about. Make sure that you bridge the gap, that you don't leave any questions for that third portion where you give them that one thing, that one lesson. Explain to them without a shadow of a doubt how it addresses that one thing. Don't leave any wiggle room for that. So even if you had to go down the line, the P would do this for, persuasive, the L would help them do this for persuasive, just so that they know this lesson is for this specific weakness, no doubts about it, because that's all they want to do. That's all that they're looking for, to see if you're familiar with the standards and what the students are able to do, and if you're able to come up with a backup plan to identify issues or to circumvent issues. You can think of what are some other ways that we could just practice, some weaknesses that students have in their writing. And guys, they might give you one where it's like a telpas related something, where the student obviously is possibly writing at a beginner level or another, and they want for you to be able to identify, okay, this is an English language learner, if that be the case. And then to give them things that would be useful, particularly for that case scenario. When they give you the student, do they give you background information on the student for the exam, or is it just that like it is in
No.
the...
No, it's just like that. Like if you say, oh, it's a high school student, he's writing a letter to the principal or to the school board or to a teacher.
Okay.
And usually it's the diction, because students don't know how to confront an actual principal or the teacher. They, like I told you, I remember on mine, the writer had the word, constantly had the writer word, he had the word things and stuff.
Right.
So it wasn't presentable, it wasn't professional.
Exactly. And so there are different types of text and writing scenarios. And so for writing academically, there's a certain academic language, and that's also a teak. So if you go through them, and I wish I had mine, I swear. Yaritza, I don't know if you know this, but I have a ridiculous amount of children, and so I lose things all the time. I have these documents, and then my toddlers run off with them, and they drive me crazy. Yeah. Okay, so reviewing those, and I'm looking at the rubric right now. Okay, let me see. Okay, so the example that they give you is actually a pretty good one. So to help this student as well as the other students in the classroom, because obviously it's not just for them, it's for everyone. I'm gonna do boom, 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 these things, right, in your plan. But that last portion in the test taking response here, the activity will be especially effective if students are asked to share their responses and discuss why the particular, she goes into more depth about why the activity will be useful for that particular weakness. There, like I said, there is not going to be so many different scenarios that they can come up with. Like you said, it's going to be diction, it might be sentence.
What about the purpose, like the audience?
Okay, authors,
like
the audience, yes. Okay, so the appropriate audience and how you would a lesson for audience. See, that I didn't even realize that they gave that one, but that's an excellent one. So and that's what she's talking about. They're unable to discern. Yes. It's the same problem she was saying about them speaking sort of unprofessionally, but because they have assigned the wrong audience. They are not speaking to their peers, they're speaking to a teacher, and for that particular audience comes a particular language. So with that, we could, audience, let me think of a good one for audience that nips it all in the bud and gives you all the different types of audiences. I also want for you guys to know that on I think it's Pinterest, we have a whole bunch of lesson ideas and just different things saved to the ELA board. Cool stuff, sorry. What do you currently do in the classroom for audience? Because one way that you could do the persuasive thing is to try to have, what was that plan? How was it that you said the P stood for what? P was for?
Pay attention to the topic.
Pay attention. So that's important. So like, what's the topic? Who am I speaking to? Because that's where you find out who you're speaking to, the topic. So if the topic is cell phone bans or bullying or whatever the case may be, it's going to be for not just peers, it's going to be for like a superintendent or a principal. So already you know that the audience is going to be a little bit elevated than normal. What was the L for? Lines?
L was list main ideas. List main ideas.
Okay. And the A?
And then A was add examples or add supporting details. So I believe he does that. Like he puts it something. There was a girl last year who fell down the steps in the science wing. So that's an example. You know, they're not focusing. They're on their phones.
Right.
So that's their ideas.
Exactly. But just need more of those, teaching them to do more of those, because you could also, you don't, there's many things that you could, I guess, say are wrong in the same sense. Like for that one that you were looking at, obviously they had the audience incorrect if they're speaking in this informal way, but you can also use, what are some other things that we just said right now? You just said one of the weaknesses. What we didn't say, it was audience. Oh, details. Not enough details, because that in itself makes an essay weak. Also, like you don't have details. That is a small, like teaching audience is kind of hard, and like to go back and do a redo for audience, you have to like go back and do a big old mess of things. But like a small thing, like your essay doesn't have enough details for the concrete things, that's like a smaller thing I can focus on and make a lesson. Might be easier for you to write about if you focus on stuff like that instead of like the bigger or broader ones, like teaching persuasive essays, and instead of a piece of the persuasive puzzle, which is the details, right? Because the details is what gets the person to come, oh, I see where you're going with this now. Okay, I get you. And then you have them persuaded. So what was something else? I'm still looking for the audience thing. What was another thing from from remembering from your past exams, the weakness that you came up with during the last exams? Do you remember?
I remember that on the strengths, I would, the strength was that their use of examples, like they had good examples.
Mm-hmm.
And then their weakness was failure for a specific audience. And then as the lesson that I would give was to like give them like an assignment where they had to come up with a letter for like asking to loan for money, to give him for like asking their mom, right? And then asking the brother, and then asking the neighbor, right? And like how they're different like ways the audience, like they're gonna write differently to the audience. That was the lesson that I used. But usually that's what I see on the essays.
Is audience.
That's the most common.
The audience. Then we have to come up with an awesome audience something strategy, or a couple of them. And there are a couple of them. I think I have a book on my thing and it has a good one, and it's a springboard. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go check my bookshelf downstairs for a book, okay? Because it has this really great activity.
Okay.
You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
Mm-hmm. So you're taking your test on June?
Yes, I take it on Wednesday. You?
I take it on Friday. But it's hard, right? This is the first time you take it, or this is like, yeah,
This is my 4th time.
Oh, I'm going to my 5th.
Oh my goodness.
Like my last one. Yeah.
You will
Like-
pass.
Yeah.
Have you been doing her tutoring? Have you, or is this the first time you've talked to her?
This is the first time I talked to her, actually. I did the study.com that she had given me, and I did the lessons and all that. But I don't know. It's because I think that on the writing part, like I mess up more on the literary analysis than on the student essay. And then on the questions, obviously, on the multiple choice.
Yes, that's where it's difficult. I'm okay with the essays already. Like I've worked on it, I've studied it. It's just the questions.
The questions, right?
The recent one that I just took in March, I had mostly all of them of technology. Like what would you do if you were the teacher and the student was using a laptop or needed attention with technology? How would you react? Basically all of it was technology. It didn't have anything like what I had studied before.
Yeah. This happened to me. And they say that every time you take it, it gets a little bit more challenging. So I'm like, oh my God. I know.
What was your score recently? What have you been close?
On the last one, I was like 11 points. So yeah, I needed 11 points to pass. How about you?
236.
Like right there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, you were close, very close.
223, 186.
Yeah.
So it went like, but still.
Yeah, my first try, I went from a 165. That was my first try, and then I went up to like a 220, and then I went up to a 225, and then I went up to a 228, and then I don't know why I went down, and then this is my last one. But I don't know. It's because every test is different, and
It is.
I study something because I'm like, okay, in this past test, like, okay, this came out a lot, so I studied and I studied, right? And when I took the test, they changed it up to like ELLs, and then the other one was all media, and then the other one was mostly like just like poetry. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so it's really.
It's really hard. Like they don't tell you exactly, okay, look, this is gonna be on the exam. This is what you need to study. But then when you take it, it's not that simple. It gives you a mixture.
Oh my God. And you take it here in the valley?
Yes. You?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it in McAllen.
Over there, I'm coming.
I'm taking it on McCall, I think.
I think yeah, that's where I'm gonna take it. Yeah, I'm gonna take it there because I actually like the place there, but I don't know. I've been struggling with this test. Like it already has me, yeah. Because I study and then like no. Or like I study something else and I try to study something different and then I find new books to study and then tutoring and it's like, oh my God, like because you don't know what to expect. It changes.
Yeah.
That's
What
what's
I
killing
did
me.
was I did a lot of lessons with my students because I teach high school. So I did a lot of figurative language and poetry and I did a lot of reviews. Yeah, they were fastidiados, but I was like, no, like we have to do it. It's a part of the lesson.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. I'm a teacher at the high school in Rio, and yeah, I teach everything. Like I'm studying and I'm teaching them,
Yeah.
like poetry and all that. So,
That's what I do too.
so you need to pass your exam too for this next school year.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Did you have to resign or they gave you a chance?
No, they did not give me a contract, so I have to pass the test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
means-
in Rio Grande City,
Yeah.
and you are in.
La Jolla.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes, but I had to resign. They told me I had to, so.
But
Oh,
then
they told you.
are they gonna hold your spot? Like
They're holding my position.
Okay.
So I have to pass.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I couldn't find what I was looking for. It was a Springboard text from forever ago when I was a high school teacher at PSJ North, but there was an exercise, and I'm sure I can find it online, but it was called
Springboard, the senior one. I have a Springboard.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was the senior one, but it was one of the Springboard ones for one of the years,
Oh, okay.
the disposable one, and it had a really great audience exercise in there. But I'm sure we could find something else. What are you guys currently doing for audience? Like maybe the same topic for different, or like give them a task to create some sort of a slogan or something, but for different age groups or different audiences, like for have you taken articles or different texts, like shorter ones, if you print them out or clip them out and put them in groups and have them identify like who the audience is for based on the words, you know, that they're reading. Like, so let's say they read something, they're like, oh, this person wrote this obviously for a teacher, and they can identify why and say because of the words, that the academic words that they're using, they use trigonometry or talked about this, or maybe they're writing for science, like a science lab or for work, but they would have to identify the characteristics of the type of language that's being used in order for them to designate it as a certain something, you know? So maybe that you could try making that into some sort of a lesson for that. What else? What else about?
What about the multiple choice? Like, I think I don't know. I'm okay with the essay. I'm just really scared about the multiple choice. I know you say about the 5 and the eliminating, but I'm still like iffy. I really want to. I'm scared I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna mark all the wrong answers and I'm going to fail again, and I really don't want that.
I know. Don't change your answers. Like, and I know you're getting anxious and there's a lot of pressure, and so that is all of that's working against you. You have to visualize yourself being successful on that day. You're doing everything that you can in order to prepare for that day. So you're doing the things you need to do. Take a deep breath. You're going to be ready for it. You're ready with the essay, the multiple choice. We can't guess it, but have you looked over these strategies? If we could read over them, they would be really great. I guarantee you, just for the ones you're not familiar with, have you been going over the Memetric study material? Because that material is the best as far as like just for refreshing your memory for the multiple choice section.
Yes, the little videos on figurative language and metaphors and things like that. Yes, it's kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. I kind of doze off.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then I'll update it again.
Absolutely. But the easiest way for me to study for this exam was to take the standards, the TEKS, and to go through each one and circle stuff I was not familiar with. Like, okay, I don't know really who that guy is or what that means. So I circled it, I Googled it real fast, and then I write it off to the side that, oh, this is what that is. Or even if I'm not familiar, because I don't remember all of the different periods and all of the different writers that wrote for the different periods. I mean, all that stuff, there's a lot of stuff that you have to remember. So going through the standards and the TEKS and seeing what maybe you for sure are not familiar with, familiarize yourself just a bit. Read over those test taking strategies, and you have got to like meditate before on the day and super visualize yourself passing. You're going to pass this time. You were so close last time, and this time it's gonna be over the top. I have a good feeling.
Okay.
What grade levels were you teaching this year?
Seniors, 12th grade.
Oh, I was doing 9th grade.
Well, I've done them both, and they're both ninth grade is definitely the ones that are, I don't know, because sometimes the seniors, they're like so lazy because it's their senior year that it's like,
oh yes,
to get them to do your name on a paper, like your name on a paper. So.
My first semester went well. My second semester, they were lazy, but they were still a good bunch and making sure that they passed. They did extra work. They came in, and so.
You'll remember them forever. I remember
Yes.
the first group, they're like becoming lawyers and dentists and doing all sorts of great things, and they were so cute. Okay, so let me see. We were discussing other audience. What's something else that you saw? So you said audience. Use let me look at the one that's online and what that person wrote. Yeah, it's audience. Example, overkill, stuff, phrases. I totally feel your pain, I think. Okay, so definitely for task 2, you're going to want to use actual quotations from the student writing to reflect what you mean. So the like and stuff, that make sure you put it in there as you would text information, you know what I mean? Like you would as though it was like a real text. We were just discussing that like whenever you're just doing task 2 for the second writing, for you to use the like direct quotes from the student work to illustrate what weakness you're talking about, or you know, create a clear picture of the weakness that you're working with. Let me see. Okay, so looking at the score 0.3 and this is bad. Okay. Okay, so if you were to take a look at for the combined score of 3, Yaritza, we're looking at the online, the Texas English, the study guide online. For that second, the sample one, they kind of had, like, they were talking about strong evidence or reasons, but they didn't give any sort of examples of that, and they didn't solidify it enough in a way that made it something that was going to be enough to give it total credit. It says, identify potentially significant weakness. So it is a significant weakness just in itself that he doesn't use details. So I think that there are several right answers within this one thing. Obviously, you could talk about the weak details, specifically the word choice, specifically the audience, specifically other things that you might have identified. But what this person does, although they do identify a significant weakness, to earn full credit, the explanation of why their response reasons are weak, so that they didn't give enough. So they should have said this is the one reason they gave, which was good, but it was missing from all the other places, therefore making it a weak, like, persuasive text because the writer was not engaged or in. Let me see. Did you need something? No. Okay. Sorry. I had like somebody watching me. I was like, what? Lost my train of thought. So the persuasive lesson, where you have them work together to identify that different audiences through reading, it's a good exercise. And it's an easy one to do because you can find all sorts of stuff from the internet just to print out and make like a little packet or whatever and have multiple ones, kind of make it into a game where they have to identify it and highlight the different characteristics that makes it for a certain audience. Do you guys have any that you have used before for audience that was useful? Or you could also do a mystery packet where you give somebody like something, and you give them like a task, and they have to write. It's like a writing task, like maybe in a little bag. You can even do it in groups too, but they would have to write based on the prompt for that audience, and then the rest of the class would have to guess what their writing task was or what their audience was. And they don't have to be long drawn out tasks. They can be short ones, like just even memes have audiences. You know what I mean? Like memes have audiences. There's many ways you can teach the audience for in class. The biggest thing that I see as far as the rubric is concerned is that bridging gap where you explain and you leave no room for questioning. So identify the strength, identify the weakness, give examples of the weakness from the student text, which super convey a beautiful picture of the weakness. And then you give your one suggestion for that lesson change that's going to identify that. And then wrap it up, tie it all up for them and tell them how that addresses it. Like, just to reiterate, this is going to specifically do this, this, and this for the student's weakness, or just this for the student's weakness. All of those pieces there. For the multiple choice section, I know that no other way of doing it is super fun, but you're just gonna have to just review those videos. And the teaks, have you done that? Taken the teaks and just looked through them and said like, oh, I'm unfamiliar with this, and they're just kind of like, if you do that, I guarantee you already you will have studied quite a bit and added some new knowledge to that. What sort of questions do you remember stumping you on the other exams? Do you remember any where you thought, okay, I don't know that at all?
I don't remember the actual questions, but I remember it was mostly about media.
Really?
Because on the recent exam, my whole test was on media literacy.
Wow. Well, media literacy is all there in that. It's all there in your teaks, like what they should be able to do, and I'm trying to think of like what sort of questions. When I first started teaching, media literacy wasn't a thing yet. They didn't even have teaks for it. It was like all very new. But now they have all the different teaks. So knowing those, going through them and identifying things within those specific media literacy teaks. Do you have them up right now? Or you have them printed out, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to pull them up myself. Sorry. I still have the It's Learning open, but no one else came, so maybe I'll... Here it is. Okay, so we have, what is this one? This is for, this is 6th grade, okay.
This one's all
7 through,
okay. Interpret and analyze, produce visual images. So it was the last page on that packet.
which packet?
On the packet, the one that you told me to, the one I printed out, this one,
Oh, the standard.
Oh, yes.
standards. Sorry.
How many are there? I have it up. No.
It's on page 14. It's the last page.
Let's see. This is not it. One moment. You cannot minimize Zoom while you're recording a meeting. Okay, so I'm gonna just move it out of the way. My computer is ridiculously slow. I apologize. Okay, let me see. Okay, well now it's at least letting me see it. I cannot find that document. I'm so annoyed. Okay, I have it over here. Okay, so the multiple choice questions were on the media literacy. In what context, though? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember. I'm not going to lie, but I remember mostly all of them were of that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So there weren't a lot of English questions, like as far as content related. It was more like the media literacy portion of it.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. So 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Listening and speaking. Maybe it starts on 13.
Bless you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I still. Which ones is it? Visual messages. Okay, so provide students with learning opportunities that promote their ability to interpret, analyze, and produce visual images and messages. So, you know, this is where the technology comes in and putting up like pictures and different media graphics for them to analyze. And I suspect the reason why the test is so heavy right now on that is because really people are so bad at media literacy right now. Like adults are terrible at it. They don't know how to tell the difference between like valid stuff and not, many of them anyway. So I guess that's why it's becoming more and more important for people to like really hone in on their media literacy skills. So giving them enough time to practice those skills in the classroom. But I'm just trying to see how we're trying to understand, teach students to analyze and evaluate myth presented in various media formats. Okay, so for instance, this would be controversial, but if I were a teacher in high school today, I would show Childish Gambino's "This Is America" in class. This is me, because I don't know if you're familiar with it, but because as far as like symbolism and the different things that are going on in the video, the word, the imagery, the sounds, the dancing, so much is going on there for you to unpack. I would use that as something to do. But it might be controversial because it's like a controversial video, but stuff like that is really great for them, and that'll get them super interested, and they will want to learn about it when you bring in their own sort of things. And it's still valuable. There's still value in teaching them those aspects of media literacy in whatever way you can, using the stuff that they find interesting and that they can relate to. Let me see. Another one here says, expressing and responding, knowledge and skills. Oh, this is for the speech one. There's another one that has the other language, and I'll send it to you. This is a course. It breaks down all the different like high school courses with English, different ones that you could have, and different things that are supposed to go on within them. Just looking over the the reading or like the way that they speak about the different things is, let me see, respond using newly acquired vocabulary as appropriate, discuss and write about explicit or implicit meanings of text and visuals. So I would like to find an example of a question that that asks about this media literacy. Let me see if I could find one really quickly. Did you have any questions specifically? Okay. You guys are familiar with the ELL strategies and different strategies that will help specifically with writing, because they probably will ask something about that.
I got a lot of questions on ELLs
Yeah.
and like passages. Well, they will give me like short little passages, or like like little short student essays that they wrote, and then what can you do as a teacher, as a 11th grade teacher or as a 10th grade teacher to help the student out,
Right.
or what would you do, what would you gain for the other students so they can do that. So like either tone or either, what was the other one, not some of them, poetry. And then I also got poetry too.
A lot of poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
I get a
Analysis
little
of it, or what? Where you have to analyze it?
Did I have to what?
You have to analyze it, like they give you a poem and you have to like find something like a literary.
It just asks you like what can you use this poem for? Like to
Oh, okay.
to figure language or to,
so you
like
would
that.
say, okay. Well,
Or
so
what is the tone of the passage? Like that.
yes. Well, for
Mhm.
that,
Like
I don't know if I'm sure you use this at your school, but I was telling her that this here is, I still to this day use this when I see a poem like in my head to try to figure it out. The TP cast.
Oh yeah, that's because.
Wait, this isn't even TP cast. This is TP dast. But anyway, the TP cast is the connotation instead of the details or the devices that are used. But ELL's strategies, definitely brush up on those. I'm still looking for that. Which of the following examples is the best representation of dramatic irony? So in those ones, you would just have to know what dramatic irony was in order to answer this.
I one like that.
Those ones you should be fine with.
Yeah, those. It's the scenario ones.
Okay, so when completing a research paper about a current controversy, a student finds an online article that includes information the student would like to cite in the paper. To be sure that the information is reliable and correct, the student should first research the author's biographical and historical information. No. Confirm that the sources in the article's bibliography are based on research and support the article. Yeah, I would say that that's a good starting point. Research the paper's topic by using books or other online sources. That's not that. While that's a good way to research, that's not answering the question, because the question says to best ensure the information is reliable and correct. So what they do sometimes is give you good answers, but to the question that's not being asked. You really have to be careful when you're reading, because you think, oh yeah, that's a good one for them, but that's not what they asked. So what they asked is a little bit different, and if we look at it, we get a better answer a little bit down. So confirm the source's graphics and illustrations support the information stated in the article. That's no. So it's going to be B. But C, research the paper's topic by using books or other offline sources. That's a good answer. What we would say for a student to help them, get sources, but that's not what the question was asking. So we need to be careful when we're reading. I make those mistakes. Okay, here's a blog question. See, there were no questions about blogging when I took this exam. Like, blogging wasn't a thing. It wasn't even a word yet. Let me see. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still looking for one where I could see where the Appropriate comma placement. Man, they even give you grammar ones, like which of the following sentence contains a misplaced modifier?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here's another one that gives you sort of a, I wish I could just show you my screen instead of my face. Can I do that? I don't think I can. It's fine.
I think where it says share screen.
Let me see. Oh, yes. Grazie. Okay. A ver. Okay, here it is. Okay, perfect. You are a lifesaver. Share screen. Thank you. Am I still there? Can you see?
Yes. Yeah, we can see you.
You still can see me?
Yes.
Yes, we can see you and we can see what you're.
We can see what you're working on.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well then that's something. I'm gonna just, okay. So for this one, an English teacher starts each class by asking a question about the previous day's lesson or reading. Teacher gives the students a few moments to think about the question, then asks one or two students to speak about the question for a few minutes. Throughout the course of the week, each student is asked to respond to a question. As students become more practiced at the strategy, which of the following is the best way to modify it to promote the most active engagement from students? So first and foremost, when we're answering these questions, what are they asking about? So they are asking which of the following
The best way.
to modify it to promote active engagement, the most active. They add all of these things. So one might be good to get a couple of people's attention, and one where it's the most and they asked for the most. So let's see what they give us. Encouraging weakest participants to observe the discussion, suggesting that they learn through listening. So does that promote the most active engagement from students, that answer choice?
Observe the discussion, listening.
Allowing strongest participants to lead the discussion, ensuring that the content is clearly communicated, having students evaluate each other's responses during discussion using a teacher-designed rubric. So that would promote active engagement by the students because they have to do the rubric thing on each other. They have to be actively listening to be able to follow along. So in my opinion, just as a teacher, I'm like, okay, that is going to make them most active. But I don't know because I haven't finished reading all the rest of the questions. Having students create the questions, choosing 2 each class period to use for the day's discussion. Okay, that's no. So we're looking for the best way to modify it to provoke the most active engagement from students. So allowing the strongest students to participate or to lead the discussions. Do you think that that's going to change anything? They're already answering the questions. Do you think it'll make the other ones less or more likely to?
Yes.
Thinking less. I don't think that's the best way to get everybody active and talking. Encouraging the weakest participants to observe the discussions. They already are. They're in class observing. That's what they're doing. And they're not talking. That's the point, is that we need them more. They are observing. They're not doing it. So in order for everyone to be active, I think the best way would be having them evaluate each other so that you hold them accountable with the task that they're doing. So this is what we're going to be doing. The task that we're all going to be doing, then at the end of it, you guys are going to use my rubric to make sure you communicated effectively. And that way, for sure, you know, they did that, and then they followed up and they reflected back. And oh my God, that's a win. You always want for your students to reflect back on what they did and why they did it. So okay, let's see what else. Okay, a teacher assigns small groups of students a series of open-ended questions to assist discussions about the novel they are reading in class. As the groups discuss, the teacher circulates around the room and informally assesses students' oral communications. Which of the following behaviors indicates that a student possesses strong oral communication skills? Okay, so as we're moving about, we need to be able to identify if someone has strong communication skills. Okay. Asking other group members questions that diverge from the original question. So they're chatty catty getting off topic. Okay. making comments that build on comments made by other group members.
No.
No. Speaking more frequently than other group members during the discussion.
Asking other group members to explain their answers to ensure that each question is answered fully. And how come you guys said no to B so fast?
Because they're talking about the like the other group members, like they built. I don't know.
Yes, but so we're looking for someone who possesses strong oral communication skills. So if I'm talking about the giver and disillusionment that Jonas has in the story, and I say something as a group member, a good oral communicator is going to be able to take what I said and bridge off of it to add something more. So making a comment that builds, to keep the discussion in a fruitful way where everybody is building on each other. If they can build off of other people's, and we can't read more into it than is on the paper. So don't make extra scenarios like, well, maybe they're taking over and building on no. They're using other people's comments to keep the conversation moving forward. And that is a sign of someone who is strong with oral communication skills. Now, if you were not, if you didn't choose that one, and so right away you guys crossed it out, you would have gotten this one wrong because you would have said no. And then the three that were there, even if you do process of elimination, your chances of getting them right are going to be 0 all the way around because you crossed out the right answer. So your chances are 0, even though there's still 3 answer choices, which is why I like those strategies that I want y'all to read. The one about betting $5 on the question that is right. Like I'm not going to eliminate this answer choice unless I know it's not for sure not the right answer. Like asking other group members questions that diverge from the original topic. For a fact, I know that is never on any planet going to be the answer to this question. I can 100% bet $5 that that's out of the way. And so already I've increased my chances by 25% that I'm going to get it right because I took one out. Now I have 70. Now I have the 3 to choose that I might get it right. And so don't exclude any questions unless you're absolutely answer choices, unless you're absolutely sure that that is not the right answer. Okay. That's one of the things that they tell you in that, the Memetrix booklet where it gives you that studying. I still haven't been able to.
Oh, this is the manual from online, right?
This is the one from online. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I studied.
Which of the following graphic organizers is the most appropriate to use to create a visual representation of an excerpt during a reading?
The cause and the effect.
Maybe. Wait, what is the question? Visual, most appropriate to use to create a visual representation of the excerpt during the reading. Subject. I don't know what that is. Because you could do the T-chart too and do your quote and then your reaction or your whatever your commentary is on the. I think maybe that might work a little bit better because not everything that you choose will have like an effect in the book that is denotable by something, you know? Or maybe, let's check. Can you check the answer to this one? Number 5.
Number 5, let me log out. Hold on.
Oh, okay. No. I can look at it. I can just do this. I just didn't want to do this, but it's fine. What was it? It was number 5.
5. You and Dean.
See, you were right.
I got it right.
You did get it right. Because this organizer enables the reader to list causes and effects, including the cause of poison ivy. What? What cause of poison ivy? Was there more to the question?
It's because you have to read the passage before it.
Oh, okay. I'm like, how did I get a question wrong? I'm fired. Okay. Let's read the whole thing. I'm over here telling you to read the whole question. I didn't even read the question. What? But where's the rest of it?
There you go. There's the story up on top.
Yes. Okay. Read the information and answer. Okay.
Yes. that one.
You was when you don't follow directions, that's what happens. And so if you don't read the whole question, that's what happens. You get it all wrong. As an introduction, hold on, Daddy, I'm on a meeting. Are you okay? You look sick. My children are getting back from school, some of them. As an introduction. Okay, about poison ivy. This makes much more sense. Yes, okay, this makes much more sense. A cause and effect would work so much better because this is an expository informational type text, and you have like a scientific thing where you have like your poison ivy, and so there would be this would be the best way to keep your information straight, to illustrate it for sure. Yeah, absolutely. If it had been just any sort of something, I would have said this, but since it's a particular type of writing, D is for sure the best answer. Which of the following will best help students recognize the text structure in the excerpt?
The signal words.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So they give some doozies and then some ones that are not as difficult. Do they give you point of view questions? Have they asked you for identification of point of view?
You see, I've gotten that one, like that number one about something about a resume. I remember getting that.
Yeah,
Instructing students
resume.
about resume writing, which is why we always tell people to really look at this, because this is the test makers exam. Like, this is the test makers practice book. They're like, so the other ones are just all based off of someone trying to be helpful, but this is the test maker themselves.
Just remember that resume has to be formal.
Okay, so when instructing students to write about writing a resume, it is most appropriate for a teacher to emphasize the importance of which? The use of formal and sophisticated language would be my guess here. Maintain
Because the first point of view, you know, that one's out. You don't want to see a resume with the letter I, like, I'm capable of doing this. I have this skill. I have this. I'm talented. So you don't do that.
right. Highlighting positive personality traits. While that might be a small section of like skills that you have, it definitely is not the most most appropriate to emphasize that one part. That's, you're not going to emphasize, and they're asking us to emphasize the importance of. So B has to be out. C, embellishing the objective and this in the skills section, like that's decoration and
Yeah, you don't want to exaggerate too much.
Exactly. You want to keep it to where they're looking at just your skills, you know, you're looking what's on paper and not distracted. So I would say making sure that you use the appropriate language for your audience. That would be the most important thing to emphasize if you were teaching resume writing. Let me see. To best help students with comprehension while reading informal text, a teacher should provide students with instruction in which of the following skills. So best help students with comprehension of informational text. So making predictions, that helps with understanding a little bit. I don't know about best help with comprehension. Identifying a purpose for reading. Recording questions that come to mind. No. Outlining the narrative structure. No. I mean, I would say, okay, let's see. This one is one of those ones where, because making predictions is something that we teach our students to do with the title, with any pictures they might have included. They included them for a reason, or any graphics or whatever. So we do ask them to do that, to make predictions, and it does help them with comprehension. I just don't know if it's the best help, because the ability to identify the purpose of the text also helps with comprehension if you realize what the author's purpose is, or what do you guys think? Making predictions or identifying?
Usually, like me, I tell my kids to read the questions before they read the passage, and that helps them with the comprehension. So they record the questions that come to mind while they're reading, and that helps them with their comprehension as they're reading. Like they understand it.
Yeah, it's just like annotating that, and that's another one where you circle like, oh, this made me think of this, whether it be a connection to their life, like I have done this before, or oh my God, that's disgusting. That helps them. It does. So you're right. That does also. You want to pick an answer, or do you want to try one of the test taking strategies from our monkey book, the $5 one, or the other one? What would you like to? You want to say D?
I think D.
Yeah, because I think so. Well, I don't know. I
Sort of, because we tell them to make predictions as well when they're reading, but it's the same. It's kind of the same thing as recording questions that come to mind.
just
So
one
there's
is
your
tangible
50
act of like actually doing it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what they say. I'm gonna look at the. We're saying D. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to make you nauseous. Which one was that we were doing?
2.
D. Good job. Excellent.
Yeah.
It's because asking ones of questions already.
Well, reading
Yes. Okay. So
information,
D is the correct one. Exactly.
higher
So
thinking.
this is true. And what I said before, the pre-reading strategy, it's before. And so that's important to know, to have that there are different strategies, pre-reading, during reading, and then afterwards, so that you have those words and you can, because yeah, I see where this one, I would have, if I were the test taker, sat there and thought about this for a while, probably too much time on this, if I had just remembered that making prediction is a pre-reading strategy and not for comprehension so much. Yeah. And so also B is also a pre-reading strategy, and then, well, I don't know, C is just wrong. But D is the right answer. Okay, so okay, and D was also the right answer for this one too. So let's see if we can find some other ones. Okay, the following is an excerpt from a 9th grade student's narrative. The ball was a blur of color, and Henry hurtled toward the goal. He positioned himself just in front of it, but he was a moment late. The ball swished past him, and the other team bounded about victoriously. Henry sank to the ground in dismay, and the crowd's roar echoed around him. To best improve the paragraph, the teacher should suggest that the student vary the sentence structure to improve the flow. Just from me reading, I was having difficulty, but like it was the same sentence structure. It's like the two sort of complete sentences. It's a whole bunch of comma splices. The ball was a ball of comma and Henry. So these are, I would tell him to combine these and for varied sentence structure and improved flow. And so if they were to, let's say that they were to give this in the essay portion of it, where it had to do with sentence structure to improve flow, there's a, this lesson that I used to do called French fries, and we gave them all these little sentences together in a baggie, and they still had to use the information, but they could change it, and they had to make it something different and use different, varied sentence structures, because they were all the same simple ones, and they were just the stems from them they had to put them in order, like to where they made sense. And it was about French fries being hot and delicious or whatever. And they always had a pretty good time trying to see who made the better little paragraph blurb. But that's also a really good lesson that you can use for your writing portion, is just to take a paragraph and to have them work on a paragraph of their own, like in a very focused way. There was no questions about this one, right? Did everybody agree that it was B? Should we check? B. After students in a high school English class complete rough drafts of persuasive essay, teacher then has them work in pairs to improve flow. To best help students, the teacher should have them look for areas in each other's essay that exhibit. We're having them look for flow, right? They're going to improve flow. So descriptive details really wouldn't improve flow. Shifts
So it'd
between,
be very thin structure.
yes, varied sentence structure and shifts between ideas are going to be improving the flow, but what's going to do it more is the varied sentence structure, because that'll be throughout. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let's see.
The shifts between transitions. The flow. Transitions.
Yeah, it says B is correct because a shift in concept would require a transition to improve flow. But that's very hard if we didn't realize there was an issue with transitions. You know what I mean? Because sentence structure would have fixed it as well. Let's see why. It says option C is incorrect because while varied sentence structure is important, adding transitions is not the way to create the variations. Well, adding okay. So, and that's one of them where it's just the best. They both were okay answers, but the best answer is the shift. And let's go back to see if we could see where, like, what other clues would make that the best answer. Do you remember which one it was?
I'm sorry.
No,
13.
not at all. Not at all. Oh, here it is. Rough drafts of a persuasive essay. The teacher has them work in pairs to improve the flow. To best help students, the teacher should have them look for areas in each other's essays that exhibit shifts between details. Okay, yeah, I guess because we are having, this is why this makes sense. We are having, the task is for the student to look for the shifts so they could tell if it's flow. They're not going to be able to tell just the sentences, like varied sentence structure. So to give them a starting place to look for repairing flow, have them look for areas in each other's essays that exhibit the shift between ideas as a starting point. I'm assuming later when they do their their revising, they will vary sentence structures or whatever, but that'll be later. The best answer is shifting between ideas based on the way that the question is written, which is why so much of these exams are just like reading comprehension exams, you know, just like really reading the question and seeing like which one best answers these. Let's try another one. We have a couple of minutes and then I'll let you guys go. And again, I am so sorry about your friend not getting the
Oh no, it's okay.
the
But I
information.
sent her the information.
Okay, good. And I can actually send her this video of us. We're going to be famous. Which is why I moved this over, because on the It's Learning forum, that conference doesn't record anything, not even the text. So even if we went in and did it, like everything would just be gone. And as soon as we log out, it's lost forever. So I didn't want to do that. Let's see. Trying to do ones that are okay. When giving a 7th grade class informational essay to read, a teacher wants to ensure that the English language learner in the class who is reading at the intermediate English proficiency level, so it's beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high, so very close to beginning, is able to comprehend the language. Which of the following supports will best promote the ELL's comprehension? I hate it when they talk about student like that, like when they just say the ELLs. Anyway, the ELL's comprehension while reading. Providing the ELL a word list that gives them a familiar synonym for a word likely to be unfamiliar. 7th grade, intermediate reading. Providing a list of commonly used sentence stems used in informational articles. I don't even know that such a thing exists. Having the ELO record events in a graphic organizer that are most important to remember. So we're trying to increase comprehension with someone at an intermediate level, 7th grade. Having a student illustrate the parts of the article that he or she finds interesting. Now, illustrations work and do help with ELL students. I would say A. I would say A is the best.
Yes.
The best support you could give them. Obviously, we want them to make drawings and associations or whatever, but as far as like the course of action for the class, the best would be to give the list of synonyms for words that might be unfamiliar. That's what would be my guess, but let's check what it says. I should read it more carefully, the question. I feel like when I answer it too quickly, that's when things go awry. Okay, so option A is correct because providing word lists of synonyms will ensure that ELLs do not have to struggle to understand unknown words. And so already it's a daunting task, and then think of it, imagine it as informational text or even that much more scarier for readers. Even our native speakers don't do as strongly with them, and so giving them that added support is going to make sure that they're get the most comprehension out of the exercise. Let me see the other one. It says option D is incorrect because while illustrating is a good strategy, which what I said, it does not help develop comprehension, language comprehension. Although I don't know about that. I kind of feel like it does. Okay, we are going to end right now. What do you guys want to plan? I know that you have your exam next week on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yes. I have mine on Wednesday.
You
I have mine on Friday.
Wednesday and Friday. I'm gonna put in then La Velita for you guys. And
Yes.
if you want to meet again, we can meet again this weekend, like on Sunday or something, if you would like to go through some more questions, rationale or whatever. I'll try to see if there's about 11 of you that have either not taken it yet and need to take it, or have taken it and need a little bit of help, like are so close. So I would like to try to get as many of you in there as possible, because it's good for us to work together and you guys help each other just like our students do in our classes, you know. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know and I can set it up maybe for Sunday evening, or you guys off for summer already?
Yeah.
Yes.
I could even do it Monday during the day.
Monday sounds perfect.
Monday during the day? Okay. And I'll send you a Zoom link through It's Learning like I did for the conference today, but it'll be for just the Zoom link, because it does allow me to tape it, to record it. So I'm going to be using our discussions. Other people, but not a lot of people are going to watch it, just people who want to pass the test. Okay. So thank you so much, ladies. You've been amazing, and I will hopefully see you again on Monday. Remember what I said. Start thinking about your response for that second question, to have like already something to go to something to write that, so you feel more prepared. Visualize yourself kicking that essay, the exam's butt, and coming out there successful, because that helps. It really does. You have to visualize. Okay, so I'm sorry. My children are telling me it's time to go. So, yes. Thanks so much, guys. Are there any questions?
No, that's okay.
Do you have my phone number? You'll have my phone number. Send me a text message if you need anything. Send me a text message Monday morning just to remind me. I'm writing it in my planner, but that doesn't mean that it won't leave my brain. But just don't feel bad if you're like, Miss Salceda, I still haven't received my link. Please don't feel bad. Just send it. Zoom meeting.
But like in the morning or in the afternoon?
We could do it around 11:30 or 1, whichever. 1 or 11:30. Which would you think?
Because I'm gonna be busy during the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, it would be best like Like in
Well,
that.
let's do it at this time on Monday then.
Oh, from 6 to 8 on Monday.
Perfect.
Okay, and
Yes.
make sure that you let your friend know that we will be having another session on Monday. But I know it's cutting it close. I'm gonna have Miss Cardenas tomorrow send her the login for It's Learning just so she could see the essay part that's there. And you sent her the Memetric stuff though, right?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. And then just let her know, and I'll send her the link as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Ms. Sosa.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
ladies. You have a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
Bye.
You
Bye,
too.
guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Did I stop it? I don't know.